Okay. Let's see here. It looks like we're live. And let me see if my mic opens and closes. I don't see where it states that, but hey, here we are. Fractal pod number 1 on Abura. And let's see here. I'm going to explore some of the options. Hey, good day, Bill. Just checking out the app so far. Welcome. I see your React. Glasses. These are cool. Alrighty. Well, we're here on the Fractal Pod, this new app on Abura. And we're excited to be here today. I don't know if there'll be many others listening or showing up, but you're welcome to come up if you want. I'll just kind of ramble here to myself about public goods, about what we're doing, and drinking my morning coffee. So we'll see if anyone else shows up here in the next couple minutes. Let's see. It looks like I can also post in the chat here. See if I can get a link. Let's see this. Aha, here we go. Copy. And then in the chat, let's see, how do I chat? There we go. All right. Here is some info on my cat wants to speak this morning too. Public goods that Fractal Visions has established. Said. All right. My first link share into the chat. And this is a link that'll take us to the Fractal Visions Public Goods Fund page on our governance. This is a new site that we have set up through Charmverse for our governance system. We'll be using Charmverse for a lot of our documentation. If you don't know what Charmverse is, it is a great tool for DAOs or organizations or even NFT projects to organize their community, similar to a Notion or a Git book documentation that people use. That's what we're using Charmverse for, as well as our organization for our DAO and our governance, which is new. And so there you'll see the Fractal Visions Public Goods Fund. And what is the Fractal Visions Public Goods Fund? Well, this is a reiteration of the Retro PGF, also known as the Retroactive Public Goods Fund on Optimism. We are sort of reiterating and implementing our own creative twist with a retroactive funding mechanism and our marketplace. It won't be the same exact way that their retroactive funding works because their fees are produced from the sequencer of the network. Our fees will be produced from the actual trades that are happening on our marketplace. And then we will take a 2% fee from the trades that are occurring on our marketplace, and 0.5% of that 2% fee goes into the Fractal Visions Public Goods Fund. So these funds, they'll pile up over time, and they'll get released to the contributors of Fractal Vision's ecosystem. Very similar to the way that Optimism has set up their retroactive funding rewards with OP tokens, where they accumulate this same type of funding pool and then distribute it out periodically to people that are contributing to the growth of their network. I see another listener here. One, I believe. Welcome. I see you here. And we're just talking a little bit about public goods, talking about retroactive public goods. There is the retroactive public goods round 3 on Optimism. That's what we've been sort of part of and has helped us build our marketplace for other impact makers. So it's helped us to sustain our project, to keep our developers going, and to also give us the inspiration for what we're building, which is huge. Because I think without the formula of impact over profit, we would kind of be lost, or maybe stuck in the world of degens without having found the lovely world of regens that populate the public goods space. And we started our journey in the blockchain world all the way back in 2017, 2016, 2017. A couple friends referred myself to an app called Steam It. And it was like a blockchain social media where you could post and then you would get Steam for upvoting or downvoting other posts. And then didn't really pay attention or get too involved into the cryptocurrency world from that point back in 2017 until 2021, early 2021. That is when we entered into the blockchain space and the NFT space pretty much full time. Ever since then, it's been over 1,000 days now since I minted my first NFT on Rarible. That was January 10th, 2021. And I don't think we've had a break from Web3 ever since that. So our goal when we got into the Web3 space was to align with other people that carry the same values as us. And it took some time. It took a little bit of time. We got lost in the sauce with all the other people that are flipping NFTs and aping into things. And then luckily Gitcoin was a program that I was a part of in early 2021 when it was still a freelancer platform and I was looking for work. I got my first bounty on Gitcoin and I completed my bounty for a game company, a Web3 game company called Cometh, cometh.io, which is like a DeFi protocol with a game aspect. The actual art that I made for their game was these little 8-bit pixel spaceships. And hopefully my pixel spaceships will get released here in this next bull market because we were submitting our bounty and completing the bounty and the ships. They never got used. So yeah, hopefully we see the ships that we made in our bounty back in 2021 finally come out on Cometh. So yeah, that was our beginning in the public goods world and Gitcoin ecosystem, which then led us to Optimism. And the OP family is the title of the space that we have here. The OP family or Optimism family is something we've been a part of ever since the beginning of last year. I think it was May of 2022 when we got onto Optimism Network. We started to deploy our own projects and learn about public goods, and learn about the retroactive funding mechanism that Optimism has built straight into their blockchain. And that was an intro for our OP family episode here of the Fractal Pod ReGen Friends. So happy to be here on Abura and happy to see this new app, because I started way back in 2021 on Clubhouse, and that was a really good place, a good source of information, a source of truth for people that were looking for information to help them get into Web3. And our traditional art business, it really didn't have much as far as like blockchain integrated into it back then. So that's something we've been working towards with our traditional art and printing business that we've ran over the years prior to entering into the blockchain space. When we got into Clubhouse, it was kind of like the melting pot of creative minds that had all come together at the beginning of the rally in 2021. I think that kind of took charge in helping educate other people and share their ideas and hold spaces just like this one, where others could come and they could share their ideas in the format of a creative think tank. So yeah, that's something we were a part of back in early 2021, trying to cultivate the ideas and the creativity of other builders and hold space for them and listen to their projects and give them feedback and help educate them if there was anything that they needed along the way. So yeah, stoked to see this new app here on Abura. My experience with X, or X Spaces, also known as Twitter, has been pretty mediocre. I definitely don't enjoy spending my time on Spaces on X. It is very time consuming and very counterproductive for the building process for the development team, and there is a lot of drama as well on X. So I try to stay in the more positive spaces that I find on there. Luckily, thanks to Gitcoin, thanks to the previous rounds, GG18 on Gitcoin, and the Citizens round, I've been able to connect with so many amazing projects and other people that the feed on X is mostly positive from what I see on a daily basis. I see a lot of people posting about public goods, about regenerative projects, and about refi, regenerative finance. Those are some of the topics that we talk about when we're talking about public goods. And yeah, I tried to wipe my friend list of all the influencers and all the other people that are pumping bags and pumping projects, and it keeps my feed pretty nice on that app now, where I don't see a lot of the drama and the things that were distracting before. So yeah, really enjoying the vibes over here on Abura and on Warpcast. And with that being said, we are now 15 minutes into our Fractal Pod here and making our way through the day with our coffee. It is actually really gloomy here in Colorado. I'm not sure where everyone else is located, but if you want to let me know, you can always leave your location and say good morning in the chat too. I am assuming it is recorded, and I don't see a little icon saying we're live or being recorded, so I can only hope that people will be able to listen to this in the future. Very cool though. I'm definitely gonna see what else there is to explore on the menu here. Some speaker and requests management in the icons down below. I can share the space. And of course, the reacts. Very cool. Well, this has been great so far. I'm not sure what my audio sounds like, but definitely curious as to what the audio is like on here. I'm not sure if any of our other community members are coming through this morning, but we'll just keep on going here. If you want to download it, yeah, my partner is here. Let me see if I can get her on it. You'll have to look at getting Warpcast on your phone first, and so go to the App Store and look for Warpcast, and then you'll get a Burra on it. Let's see. Yep, it's recorded, says Bill. What's on the roadmap for Fractal Visions next? Oh yeah, so let's talk about some of the things that we have coming up real soon. In just a few days, on the 31st of October, actually, we're going to start our direct grant rounds with Gitcoin. We're utilizing the Gitcoin grant stack to do a direct grant round. And then in January, we're going to have our quadratic funding round using the Gitcoin grant stack. So from the end of this month on Halloween here in the US, I'm not sure if it's a holiday everywhere else in the world, we will start our direct grant funding, and then we will build up our direct grant funding around all the way until January when we do the quadratic funding. And these projects that we're looking for in this grant funding round are related to some of the genres that we will have on our Impact Initiative platform. Those are audio, visual, artificial intelligence, refi, and DeSci projects. So our audio category is actually called D-Vibes, or Decentralized Vibrations. And that's more of a general term for usage of, not just music, but it could be spoken word, it could be poetry, or it could be an audiobook too. There's many different forms of audio in creative content media, and we want to leave it open to the impact makers to be able to choose what medium they work with the best when they're working on their projects. And we want to be able to include as many different projects from as many different categories of an audio format as possible. So the next genre would be the psychedelic visuals genre, more of like the art or visual genre. Psychedelic art and visuals are something that we have been really heavily involved with as far as other artists in the community of the visionary art world. That's the main scene of artists that we have helped print and produce art for as far as printing and publishing goes. We do publish and print our own G-Clay canvases and paper prints with our own fine art printing machine that we've had ever since 2017. We've been producing our own prints and our own canvases for other artists, and we've worked with over 400 different artists that are traditional artists. A lot of these artists as well, maybe they got interested in the blockchain world back in 2021 when we did, and then, might have dabbled with the technology a little bit and then disappeared. So we really want to, break the stigma back down and get rid of the mentality that people are just here for profit or to capitalize on others. And we want to bring in these traditional artists into the public good space and show them that they can create their projects with an impactful meaning, as well as get rewarded for the impact that they're making with a retroactive rewards program. And that doesn't just, stay to the boundaries of art and music. We're going to let people create projects with artificial intelligence. And I think that is also something that is a little bit like untouched and untapped as far as the world of public goods and how we can use artificial intelligence to help drive these impact initiatives as well. I'm curious to see what comes of that, and think there's really a lot of potential to use AI with public goods funding. So those are like our three main categories. Then we have the refi category, of course, that is the regenerative finance or agriculture. It could be an impact initiative for the environment, or to clean up, environmental cleanup. There's so many different ways that you can create a refi project. Refi or regenerative finance isn't just for environmental change. It can also be for fundamental change on the basic levels of our economics and the way that we manage money and redistribute money into our economy. So that is part of what our project exemplifies, is creating these quadratic funding or the retroactive funding mechanisms that will help distribute funding to other builders and creators that are out there making impact, whether that's on chain or whether that impact is being made in real life. Is also some factors that are yet to be determined, and how exactly someone will be rewarded with impact that they're making off chain compared to impact that they're making on chain. It's kind of hard to fund things that are physical activities, so we would love to see more use cases brought to the table from the projects that are out there in real life making an impact, and how they can record that data and show that impact on chain for the work that they're doing in real life. And yeah, that's really what refi is all about. Last and not least, we also have the DeSci category, or the decentralized science category. Really a broad category. We try to keep everything more general and broad and inclusive as far as the genres that we're having on our market. And yeah, DeSci not just involves data, science, and space, but it could also involve agriculture and biology and chemistry as well. So that's a little bit of breakdown of the different genres that we'll be letting into our grants here in the coming future. Our marketplace is also launching. The MVP that we've been working on for just about a year now with our developers is going to be launching. I hired on our head UI UX developer from Bankless DAO. His name is Jerome, and he's a really great guy, a great designer, and a great team member. He's the leader of our development team, and Jerome and I have created the user interface over the past 10 months and hired on a smart contract and front end developer to help us put together this marketplace. So yeah, we're really close. We're working right now with Simple Hash. We just entered the enterprise package for their API. So we're officially partnering with Simple Hash for our API and our data, and are starting to aggregate our data on chain. We have our website live, but it's not open to the public as far as trading on the marketplace goes. And right now we're actually getting reviewed for the retroactive funding rewards on Optimism in round 3. So there's about 200 badge holders that are evaluating our profile, and maybe even taking a look at our new MVP for the very first time, and seeing how the funds that we were given from Retro PGF round number 2 have now gone into the development of our project over the past 6 months. And yeah, that's something that I guess I could talk about a little bit, is how the retroactive funding mechanism on Optimism works. We contributed our time and our efforts to educating and building on educating other people and building on Optimism. And then we were rewarded for our efforts in round number 2 of Retro PGF back in the spring of this year, 2023. We received 7,500 OP. I think that equaled around, by the time we received it, equaled around 12,000 US dollars. Then we took that money. We took 60% of the funding from our rewards, and we just dumped it straight back into our developer team to build this platform on Optimism. And knowing that, we're making a commitment to build on Optimism, to build an impact platform on Optimism for other impact makers, would help generate more public goods funding mechanisms. And so now this round, we're hoping that the badge holders will see our efforts and see everything we built and see our team that we've gotten together over the past 6 months, and we'll get rewarded for our efforts again. And kind of just keep repeating that process, contributing to the ecosystem and helping to create a sustainable ecosystem for public goods on Optimism, on other networks that are part of the Optimism's same technology, like Base. Base also uses Optimism's OP stack, which is the open source code that they offer for people to create their own layer 2 blockchain. So the super chain is kind of like where we have our heads already in the future. Being part of the super chain, helping contribute to the super chain, and also deploying our product, our MVP, and our marketplace to other chains besides Optimism that are also part of the super chain. Being a part of the connectivity and conductor of public goods on Optimism, and helping add to the pie and growing it larger and larger. And another way that we've also been doing this is actually with our own personal funds, our own personal projects. Some of them actually, the royalties, the primary sales, they are directed straight to retroactive public goods funding on Optimism. On Optimism, they have an address set up called retropgf.eth, and you should be able to find that in our bio here on Warpcast. You should be able to see on Warpcast in our bio the retropgf.eth address. If you click that, it'll actually take you straight to the wallet on Rainbow, which is really cool. I like that about Warpcast, is that you can put in the .eth and it actually becomes a live hyperlink. And then we've taken that idea of having a donation address like Retro PGF, and we've reiterated that with our Fractal Visions Public Goods Fund. The domain or address that we have set up for that is FVPGF, the Fractal Visions Public Goods Fund .eth address, where people will also be able to send money to. So yeah, we've donated over, I think, $2,000 directly to Retro PGF over the past year. That has just been through passive efforts of minting and secondary sales from some of our projects. And the intention behind that is to continue to grow that same pie of funding and that pool of funding larger and larger, so that way everybody gets a piece. And it really has come back to us, I think, 3 times as much or whatever than we put into the pot has kind of like come rolling back towards us for our own development after putting in the work initially. So it's a little bit different model. It's not like you're working for instant gratuity, but more or less working for, the knowing that there's a greater purpose that you're building towards, this like bigger ecosystem and this bigger picture of public goods, sustainability, and really a lot of regenerative finance mechanisms that have never existed before this point. Or if they have, they just haven't been implemented in the real world the way that our society or our economy needs them to be in order for it to be sustainable. So regenerative finance has been something that has improved our lives. It's improved our outlook on the world around us, and it's given us some hope that we can actually be a part of this movement and be, part of the educational aspect that gets the word out there to people that don't know about public goods or don't know about quadratic funding and retroactive public goods funding. So there's so many traditional artists that we have worked with in the past, and they struggle a lot to find purpose. They struggle to find a reward from the work that they're doing, and the blockchain, it can actually, it can make that happen. It can make that incentive to keep working happen with these regenerative aspects of finance. So definitely something that we're excited about. Really excited for the Gitcoin grants that we're running, and then the future iterations of the retro PGF that we will be doing down the line. That's kind of our future outlook on what's coming for Fractal Visions here. I think that we'll be expanding to different networks. Different layer 2s are popping up every day almost, it seems like, which is amazing. And right now we have our retroactive funding mechanism and marketplace contracts deployed on mainnet for Optimism. I also have a contract for our marketplace and retroactive funding mechanism set up on Base and on Arbitrum at this current moment. So we're ready to go. We're just doing some beta testing and getting our user database set up for people to actually connect to our market and then upload their banner and their profile picture and edit their bio, etc., etc. So yeah, just some final details we're working through for our platform. And yeah, really excited. I really appreciate the space that we're having here and 35-minute monologue that I've now gone on. It's been a bit challenging, but also a good thing for me to get in the habit of doing. So, okay. Let's see here. Thanks, Bill. Yeah, let's see. What else do we got here on the table? We were just part of the Gitcoin Citizens Round, or should I say I was part of the Gitcoin Citizens Round. That was really cool. Being a part of the Gitcoin Citizens Round makes me feel like sort of special, but it also makes me feel like many people don't even know what these opportunities are that are out there for us. When I say Gitcoin to people, everybody thinks I'm talking about Bitcoin, and I just don't know how to say it right sometimes. So I think that's kind of funny. And so, yeah, I think that more awareness and more education needs to be out there about public goods. And that's part of my duty as a Gitcoin citizen, to creating video content how to participate in each of the Gitcoin rounds. We've been putting that out slowly on YouTube. Then as well as, not just being a donor and donating to other projects on Gitcoin, but running your own grant and getting donations is great too. Beyond that, becoming an actual grant round manager is like the ultimate achievement level of being a Gitcoin citizens member. So that's the next stage that I'm about to embark on, and really excited to try and get the word out there about public goods funding on Gitcoin. And we're using Optimism as well for the direct grants and the quadratic funding that we're doing with Gitcoin. There is the option to do this grant stack funding with Gitcoin on other blockchains as well. So I think that is probably going to be how we reiterate those different rounds on Gitcoin, and the donations that we do probably each quarter. We'll probably line it up just the same way that Gitcoin does every 3 months, have a new round of quadratic funding, and then maybe there's some slight tweaks or some changes in between from round to round, as well as the possibility for one of these genres or categories that we've come up with to become their own sort of core round and become more decentralized in a way. We've seen that actually happening with the climate solutions category on Gitcoin. They just put up the climate coordination network page on X. They have their own sort of brand for the climate round now. It's called the Climate Coordination Network, and it's completely decentralized into its own round now, separating itself from the Gitcoin ecosystem in a way, because it I think started off as a featured round and then became a core round in Gitcoin. So the climate change initiative is just continuing to grow. We fully support the climate change initiative. Anything related to keeping the environment clean or keeping the air clean or the water clean is considered a public good, and there isn't much you can say about people that are out there trying to clean up our environment, other than we need to support them more. So yeah, that's something that we are happy to see happening. We're here in Colorado, and in the past few years, recently, we had some pretty big fires. So there are some reforestation efforts that need some more help and attention here. It is really hard for those efforts to take place because of the high altitudes where these disasters took place in the mountains here of Colorado, and there's not many roads to be able to access those areas where the burns happen too. So it's going to be a major effort to be able to reforest or replant some of the trees that were lost across the mountaintops here in our own state. That's just kind of one initiative that we're seeing needs more focus or attention here in our local region. We looked locally recently to see if there was any other sort of impact initiatives that we could get involved with just in our own local hometown too, because the Climate Coordination Network and the climate change categories from Gitcoin have really inspired us to do so. And we've found there are actually here in our local hometown, there's a lot of cleanup efforts locally. There's actually teams of people that are designated to certain natural areas here around town and continue to clean them up and keep them clean. So relatively here, it is a very clean area where we're at, and there's a river that runs through town as well that has impact initiative cleanup lakes. So I think that is probably going to be our first sort of involvement with actual environmental cleanup next spring after the winter, or maybe even throughout the winter and the fall and the spring here. The water is a little bit lower in the river, so it might be a better time to clean trash out of the river when the water is low in the winter time, rather than doing it in the spring or summertime when the water is at its highest levels and raging from all the snow melt. So yeah, that's something that we're thinking about getting involved with this winter, this next spring, as far as our own sort of climate initiative, trying to get involved with our own local community and get away from the computer screen every so often so we could go get some fresh air. Because as much as it's as much fun as it's been, working in Web3 and developing a product, it's also been really challenging mentally sometimes to not go out and get the exercise or the fresh air and relaxation time with nature that we're usually used to. So yeah, it's an incredibly difficult balance to find between real life and working in Web3. It's easy to get caught up in your work in Web3 and just kind of like stay in your hole on your computer for weeks or months at a time trying to accomplish something, but then realize, oh man, I need to take a step back and get some fresh air every once in a while. So hopefully as we complete our project and launch our marketplace, there'll be a lot less hands-on development and grinding to figure out how to put everything together, and we'll get a little bit more breathing room after the first couple months of our deployment. I'm sure that we'll have a lot of questions to answer for beta testing in the first couple months. So yeah, really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to getting outside more and being involved with climate initiatives in our local area as well. So hopefully we can implement that in the future in some of our projects. But really, we are trying to align more with the projects that are doing that instead of trying to take on that sort of responsibility, finding a way to help empower others that are also doing that with our marketplace and our ecosystem is sort of the main element of Fractal Visions and how we are trying to put a laser focus on impact initiatives, on people that they have a cause or some sort of crisis, humanity crisis, even could be related to that. So yeah, I think when we have our marketplace, when we have our platform, it'll be a little bit more clear to people exactly how we're going to be doing this, because it won't be an open, permissionless marketplace like OpenSea. It'll be highly curated, and we're really searching for people that are making an impact, whether that's on-chain or off-chain. Yeah, so that's a little bit about what we're doing with other impact makers, the environment around us. Part of the reason why we got into the blockchain space was this reasoning with our traditional fine art printing business. It just did not seem sustainable for ourselves, manual labor wise, and the environment as far as the byproduct that we produce with our printing, which we were definitely producing quite a fair amount of byproduct waste with printing services for other artists. So since we got into the blockchain space, we've been able to sunset our printing services and draw them back to the point where we're not using them as often, and definitely not producing as much byproduct or waste that's going into the trash or going into the environment. Utilizing blockchain technology to help us proliferate the artwork and get the artwork out to the world, and then not being limited by these physical boundaries of having to send a physical product to a customer after they purchase something off a website and then enter their address. With blockchain technology, it's seamless and borderless, and you can reach people all over the planet instantaneously through blockchain with your art or with your project. So that's, I think, the thing that really was a very powerful influence in the way that we changed and shaped our business and started to integrate with blockchain technology. So let's see, 11:47. Wow, 47 minutes in. Let's see. I guess we'll probably close it up here soon. Yeah, let me see if I can get your phone downloaded on Warpcast. I'm gonna see if I can get Alicia's account set up here. Oh yeah, it wants you to sign up with a recovery phrase and everything, so it might be a few steps. Yeah, we'll do it later. We'll get you set up for the next one. No worries. But yeah, my partner Alicia, she's been here hanging out with me. Do you want to say hi? Say hi.
Hi, everybody.
There you go for the recording. And yeah, Alicia and I, we together are Fractal Visions. Alicia's artist name is Fractalicia, and my artist name is Iggly Vision. And so together we are Fractal Visions. And yeah, that's kind of how we came together back in 2019. We were live painting at a show together, and used to do a lot of events, a lot of live painting events. I've even done some art installations at music festivals here locally in Colorado, as well as in Arizona. And that was a life that really doesn't seem that familiar anymore because we've spent so much time in the blockchain space, and both of us, we have not been to a live show or performed live painting since 2019, actually, before COVID started. So it's been a really long hiatus from our normal life to kind of commit our efforts towards the blockchain space, learn about the blockchain space, learn exactly what we're doing here in the blockchain space, learn how to do it, and then learn our purpose about what we're doing, as what is our role here in this space. So I think we're on the right path. We're on the right path now. We've aligned our values with other people who share the same values, and they're on a very similar mission and path as we are, and envisioning this kind of sustainable world of public goods and utilizing blockchain technology to, better the world that's around us. So yeah, we really hope that together people will see us working together, even though most of the time it's just me speaking. There are two people that are constantly grinding and working their hardest to put this all together for others. And if it was just me, it would not be possible. If it was just her, it would not be possible. It really does take us all working together, supporting one another, and we hope that we can gain that same type of support throughout the future with our project from others. So yeah, that's something that we really hope people will see, and that we get rewarded for our efforts, building and putting in the effort and making an impact to then get rewarded maybe with some sort of profit, because profit in the world of public goods is needed for sustainability. Nonprofit cannot survive without making some sort of income and having some sort of profit to sustain themselves over time. So that's something we're learning the balance of as we dive into this world of public goods, grant funding, and opportunities for retroactive funding rewards. It's also become pretty apparent to us that getting money from private investors or from venture capitalism or even through traditional grant systems in governance can be counterproductive for the development of a project or the development team themselves. So those are things that we have considered. We have, talked to some venture capitalists and investors, specifically on the Bitcoin network side of things, who are interested in getting us over to the Bitcoin and Stacks ecosystem. But it's also, not as ethically, aligned with how we want to run our own business, with how we've ran our own business in the past. We've never taken any sort of serious investment from a private investor or any sort of capital investment from any sort of venture capitalist. So we're going to be really careful about that in the future. We have seen some other examples of how that type of PR, sometimes when the money's coming from the wrong place, it can hurt your brand, it can hurt your reputation. Most recently with Gitcoin, the topic of the Shell organization, known as the gas company Shell, was donating money to Gitcoin, and that caused a giant controversy, especially for all of the climate change initiatives that were a part of the program. So that was a really good learning lesson, to be a part of that and listen to that exchange between the community members and the Gitcoin community organizers there. Seeing exactly how, taking money from a private investor or an investor who may not have the same values and alignment with your ecosystem might actually be a counterproductive sort of move in this world of public goods. So a lot to learn about that. I think that, with what we've built, with all of the effort that we've put in on Retro PGF number 3, that will get rewarded for our efforts. And I think that it'll be worth it. And there's no doubt in my mind that we, made all the sacrifices that we could to be able to get here without, completely sacrificing ourselves as far as our own sustainability goes, which has still been really, really difficult and tough to figure out all the way up to this point. So seems like a good idea to take a big investment from somebody or get a big grant from even a governance system, but then being under the pressure of their thumb to always be pushed to do what they want to do by a certain deadline or time period, in risk of not receiving the funding, is also a lot of extra added pressure that we don't want to put on our team, especially because our developers, they're really highly focused on the security aspect of the platform that we're building. And that is probably one of the major focuses of our platform, is security. So we don't want them to rush. We don't want them to be forced to finish things because of deadlines and obligations to get funding they need because they haven't built something quick enough. So I find that can sort of be a weak point in some of the ways that other projects build, and we're trying to mitigate those risks by taking an unconventional route of funding to be able to build our platform. So a lot of sacrifice to be made to be able to build something great for other people. But I think that sacrifice is necessary. I think a lot of other people could learn how to sacrifice a little bit more sometimes. So yeah, don't sacrifice too much though. Maybe there could have been a better decision to make with the retroactive funding that we gave our developer team. It's always a really tough game to play when you want to better yourself, but you also want to contribute to the ecosystem that you're a part of. So finding the right balance between the formula of impact over profit is it's a journey, that's for sure. Figuring out how to keep yourself going, but also be able to make an impact in the world is a giant challenge, and probably one of the more boring topics that people don't necessarily want to solve. So definitely happy to be at the forefront of this technology, at this movement, with all these other amazing creators that are out here. And with that being said, we're getting to our first Fractal Pod hour on Abura with the OP family episode here. So we're going to do this again next week. I think I'm going to call it for the day. That was a pretty well thought out monologue, even though it was improvised. Really happy to be here, Bill. I thank you again for your efforts in building, creating this decentralized solution for social media. And we're going to do our best to get as many people over here over the course of time. I know it might not seem like much now, but we know how these things grow, and it's really important to be a part of it in the early stages and cultivate this new platform with other impact makers. So we'll do our best to get the word out there and get other people over here throughout the coming weeks and the months. I definitely will probably not be doing Fractal Pod on X anymore. I think this is going to be the home of Fractal Pod. So yeah, we'll continue to use Abura, and happy to be here. Really excited for the future and everything. So I think that's it for today. You got anything that you want to add? No? Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Alicia will probably be here with us next week, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks, Bill.
Bye.